I wonder if he was someone that used like Sizurup, but that fentanyl maybe has found its way into that supply, much like everything else, because hey, let's get you extra addicted.
You know what? May be. I mean, I haven't heard of promethazine, or fentanyl being in it, but it is again, that and the codeine. That's a syrup. The death of somebody in an overdose or from an overdose affects more than just the person that passed away. It has a forever effect on family members and friends and coworkers and seriously, and everybody.
I'm Flindt Andersen, founder of Pain, Parents and Addicts in Need. I've been in recovery since 2001, and there isn't much I don't know about recovery. And my mission is to constantly tell the truth about addiction, to make the realities of addiction, recovery, and drug culture known, and to drive awareness and advocate change that ultimately saves lives.
And I'm Jason LaChance, a certified recovery coach with a passion for speaking with others and sharing their knowledge to help others seek recovery and maintain long-term sobriety. And this is the Don't Hide the Scars podcast, presented by Pain, Parents and Addicts in Need. Mr. Andersen, how are we, good sir?
We're good, Mr. LaChance. What's new with you?
Oh, hey, we're just pushing through. How did we get this far into the year so quick?
I'm telling you, 24 just went fast.
Yes, it did.
It just went really fast. Well, a lot of action going on.
Yes, and as chaos continues within the world, and that's just the way it is. Because hey, no matter what we face, we do not pick up, we don't use.
Right.
But unfortunately, we are going to talk about an individual who did struggle with substance use. No word if he was considered a full-blown addict, but it came out on September 5th. Rich Homie Quan, who lived in Fulton County, Georgia, passed away. Examiners are saying that it is an accident, but it was related to a drug overdose. And we just continue to see it. And, we converse about the celebrities on this because hopefully it helps it hit home a little bit more when it's people that it's known. But we continue to lose a 747 at minimum a day from overdose, be it accidental or their drug of choice is now fentanyl.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and again, it's not surprising, but I'm every time something like this happens, they immediately go to it's an accident. And as we've discussed before, really, was it?
Mm.
Now, I mean, if somebody dies from an overdose, okay, I mean, I guess you have to put it in that accidental category because, oops, nobody wanted to. But if they're taking fentanyl, if they're using fentanyl, if they're going out and buying fentanyl and knowing that they're buying fentanyl, what's so damn accidental about it?
Yeah.
Because they know that this is a possibility. I just can't believe in today's society, with everything that's going on about fentanyl, that people don't understand that, and especially if they're out there buying it intentionally, that they could die from this. So why would you? Again, I understand the word accidental, but man, there's just more to it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. This guy, I don't think this guy was just let's say, a meth user, and then all of a sudden decided, oh, I'm going to try this pill over here.
Yeah.
That's not normally how it works.
Yeah.
We all kind of have our drug of choice that we use.
Yeah. Well, let's get our do a little speculation here because the cause of death is listed as a combination of toxic effects of fentanyl, I always butcher this one, alprazolam,
Uh-huh.
codeine, and
Uh-huh.
promethazine. So
Uh-huh.
let's break down what those are. Alprazolam, known by various trade names, most commonly prescribed as a psychotropic medication, frequently prescribed to manage panic attacks and anxiety disorder. Codeine, we all know.
Wait, let's go.
Opioid.
Let's go back to alprazolam.
Okay,
That's a benzo.
that's a benzo.
That's a benzo.
Yeah.
That's in the Valium family.
Yeah. So we have a
And,
benzo in
right.
conjunction with fentanyl so far. Codeine, we know, an opioid pain reliever. I mean, you can get cough syrup with it amongst other medications. Then promethazine is used to manage and treat allergic conditions, nausea, vomiting, motion sickness. This makes me want this list that if I was, I wonder if he was someone that used like syrup or something. You know, these ingredients tend to show up in that. It is sadly common within rap hip hop culture. We've known,
Yes.
we've seen it, but that fentanyl maybe has found its way into that supply, much like everything else, because hey, let's get you extra addicted.
You know what? May be. May be. I mean, I haven't heard of promethazine, or fentanyl being in it, but it is again, that and the codeine. That's a syrup
Hmm.
that people use. We've had local people here that have, especially it was huge among teenagers years ago, huge to the point where teenagers were literally keeping containers of it in their closets, you know. And so that's a big one. And you're right, it was and probably still is pretty large in the rap community. I mean, there's songs about it.
Yeah.
There are songs about it, and yeah. So again, I have a hard time, as skeptical as I am, I'm having a hard time or believing that somebody put fentanyl in that cough syrup,
Hmm.
um, especially if they're getting the cough syrup through a pharmacy. I find that kind of difficult to believe. But I don't think we're ever going to find out the real truth on where the fentanyl came from in this case. I've never heard of fentanyl or of codeine being laced with fentanyl. The alprazolam, that could have been, I mean, if it's a fake pill, yeah, then the fentanyl could have been laced in that. But if it's not a fake pill, short of drug dealers now maybe taking the liquid fentanyl and maybe eye dropping it on a real pill. I think that's something that maybe we ought to look into more, because we don't hear too much about that.
Yeah.
But
No.
again, wouldn't surprise me.
No, we haven't, other than the case of when we talk with Paula Young, who her son smoked a joint,
Yep.
but it was on the paper, had the liquid fentanyl. And I mean, you know, goodness, I mean, when I had a minor procedure, they put me under. That's, of course, what they use. It's an IV. And it was just really alarming to me, this combination. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his girlfriend found him in the morning, thought he was still asleep, put a blanket on him, came back, realized he was in the same position, and immediately called 911.
Yeah.
So, who knows at what point his respiratory system just stopped.
Right.
But I think this is such a great thing. Not that he passed away, of course, our condolences. But it's good to get this out, that this combination of usage. I've not seen this in anyone we've discussed that has passed away from an overdose.
No. And look, we know it in the research that we do. But there's kind of this misnomer out there that fentanyl is the white Caucasian, thing
Hmm.
that's going on. And I'm here to tell you that, more studies and research is coming out that this doesn't care what color you are. And it's just as prevalent in the African American communities as it is the Hispanic communities, the Asian culture. It just doesn't matter. But it's just, again, to me, it's just a crying shame, because here goes a waste of talent, a waste of a life, that just didn't need to be over.
No.
It just didn't need to be over.
And it sounds like he was a father as well, because his girlfriend reported that she let him sleep and put that blanket on him to take her son to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now, you know, I mean, not only does that child come home from school, but the child's getting yanked out of school to
Right.
find out that the father figure he had, it didn't state if it was his son or not, but clearly he was a father figure, is gone.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like we talk about, Jason, the death of somebody in an overdose or from an overdose affects more than just the person that passed away. It has a forever effect on family members and friends and coworkers and seriously, and everybody,
Yeah.
but we also always have to take a look at the fact is, where was this guy at in his drug use? Why was he using to begin with? Was he already addicted to something? I don't know. Why is there just such this insatiable, I don't even know what to call it anymore, desire, to get high all the time?
Yeah.
I'm really having a hard time with that. And look, you can't always blame the times. You can't always blame the economy. You can't always blame this. You always can't blame that. Right? There comes a point with all of us that we need to be responsible for this. Again, we got to wake the F up, okay, and realize that we've got families, we've got friends, we've got people that care about us, and we're going to be doing harm to them.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing harm to them.
Yep.
Because again, as human beings, we don't think it's ever going to happen to us. And the reality is, yeah, it does. Happens all the time, every day, and especially now.
New Perceptions North, the premier drug and alcohol treatment and recovery center in Central California. A full continuum of medically supervised top quality care with programs for detox and patient residential treatment with dual diagnosis, intensive outpatient treatment, sober living support groups, and more. New Perceptions North provides adult men and women with the highest caliber of professional health care, treating each client with compassion and respect, in a safe, comfortable environment to begin the process of recovery to proudly create and sustain a life without addiction. Call 559-978-1507 or visit newperceptionsnorth.com.
As I still continue, coming up on 4 years of continual sobriety, my longest stint of it, the brain is making more connections and remembering more instances and just being grateful. Like, my God, it's amazing. I never vomited and asphyxiated in my sleep with the amount I was drinking or, anything more major or, harmed anyone in a car accident. I had the one by myself from definitely connected to my alcoholism. And it's just sad. It leaves a big place in the world. The man had a couple of top 100 hits, so there's definitely fans and
Sure.
and the ones that knew him and loved him, and that's it. It's gone. That, like you've said, and I've said this to people, but never on another podcast, let alone our own, because you've always put it so well. Is that last picture they got that's sitting on the picture frame of the piano come Christmas, that's it. They never get any older.
Right.
There isn't any story like, hey, I'm a Star Wars fan. We lost James Earl Jones in his 80s. Like,
right.
That's a pretty good lived life.
That's a good lived life right there. Yeah, it is.
That's a good run. But this, he was a young man. He was, 33, I think.
Right.
33 years old.
33 and the world at his feet.
Yeah.
But I also think that's part of the problem today. I do. There's there's so much out there for the taking, and again, I'm not even going to turn around and blame making a lot of money on this. Okay, I'm not, because and here's something else. We're always talking about, I'm not going to mention who, we know him, okay? And this was on another reel that I saw, and this gentleman came up and he said something like, the drugs and alcohol are not the problem. Trauma is the problem. It's always trauma. I'm quoting them now. It's always trauma. And what I like to tell this gentleman, who I know and who I actually respect and like, okay, is no, it's not always trauma. There are other indicators. There are other situations that will drive somebody to that. Okay, it could be as simple, again, as we talk about, as a medical condition, medical, pain, injuries. It could be the fact that, oh, hey, now I am making $1 million a month. All right, yeah, I'm going to try this, because now I can afford to go do it. It's not always trauma. I'm sorry. A lot of times it is. There's always that reason behind why, and most of us have that reason, but not always. And this is what kind of, I don't know about this guy. I don't know if he had any past trauma or whatever it was. But doesn't there have to come a time when we stop making the excuse for our substance use?
Yeah, I think personal responsibility is a thing that it's not ingrained in our society.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I just know because it wasn't for me. I literally worked in a profession that was very good at, hey, you need to be the one that's having fun. I remember early on in my radio career, one of my first bosses, oh, good, you're here early. We're going to lunch. Oh, I already ate. No, it's okay. It's a liquid lunch. I got to get on air. You'll be more entertaining that way. Just don't curse.
Right.
Hang out with rock stars, musicians. Come on, have a drink. I was offered drugs, whatever reason. I'm be the grace of God. I didn't like anything I ever tried. My body was like, hell no, never again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does come down to personal responsibility. We know that alcohol's legal. That's not going to get overturned, nor are we pushing for it to be. But your responsibility is to understand that two drinks, if you're eating whatever it is in the time frame, if you are going out to an establishment. If not, there's Uber, there's Lyft, there's whatever it is, a DD, all those things. Like there has to come a time of personal responsibility with any of this.
Right. Well, and this may piss off a few people, but again, it's like when I see these reels of somebody that's 350 pounds, right? I saw one the other day where this poor young woman, by the way, all right, literally was 600 pounds. And she's trying to get on an airplane to go to see a doctor in Los Angeles. I can't remember where she was from, maybe in the South somewhere. And she was posting on there that she was very upset that she had to buy 2 seats. Well, honey, 600 pounds, 1 seat ain't going to do it. I'm surprised you didn't have to buy the whole row of 3. Okay. She was upset because they had to, and her wheelchair broke, and they had to take her in on one of those carts, a luggage cart. Okay. And she was embarrassed and didn't like people staring at her or taking pictures with their phones. Okay. I understand. And for a brief second, I felt kind of bad for her.
Sure.
All right. But she didn't like people taking pictures of her, yet she had a television crew following her. This is where it gets interesting, right? She had a television crew following her. And by the way, you're the one that continued to eat yourself into this mess.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the personal responsibility? I don't give a shit if you're 600 pounds. I don't give a damn if you're 300 pounds. Okay, that's your life. You can do what you want with it. But don't play the blame game.
Yeah.
Don't play that game. And it's the same thing in substance use. A lot of times, again, trauma, yes, there's a lot of trauma, and it's proven time after time, trauma-based, situations in people. But there are also those times when we're making that conscious decision to go and use something. It's like my wife says, you've been clean and sober now for 24 years. If you go out and use again, that is clearly your choice because you have been given every tool under the sun not to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd say the difference too between your usage and mine, though, is you didn't have a choice because yours started when you were just born, getting your first chemicals pumped into your body, whereas nobody ever put a drink in my hand.
Right.
I don't remember ever getting any kind of cough syrup or anything where I went, ooh, I love this feeling. Like I never had that. There was never that, ooh, warm blanket that people talk about in their teenage years.
Right.
I didn't have that. Right. Mine just came later through time and stupidity and genetics and a multitude of factors. I was talking with my dad about my grandfather the other day, and he goes, yeah, well, he always did get up and at least get to work, and so he's a functioning alcoholic. I go, oh, Grandpa wasn't much of a functioning person. He's just whatever his brain could get out there and do what he did. But it was scary too at the time because he was a truck driver. He was driving a big, transfer trailer rig.
Right.
Assumably pretty damn hungover every time.
Oh, I'm almost positive of that. But again, even though I had that situation as just being born and all the medical issues, again, as it relates to today it would be my choice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what triggers me, what TV show I watched, what pill bottle I saw on somebody's counter. Okay. It's still my choice whether I go and I use that pain pill or not.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that transformational choice. I've never asked you about this. I know for me, when I've had the offer from people, not knowing I don't drink, like my body gets a visceral response where it's like I feel ill, like just at the thought. I don't know about you, but it's just like, oh my God, like
very, very rare. Do I feel like that anymore? In fact, I can't remember the last time that I actually felt like that. I think now if I'm again, I always bring up the Dr. House MD show, but even now, if I'm watching an episode of that and I see it, I almost kind of smirk. When I see him pull that bottle out and shake it, it's like I just go, oh, okay, I get it. Instead of in the old days where I'd go, oh shit, that didn't set well with me.
Yeah.
Those moments of, oh shit, that didn't set well with me really doesn't happen much anymore.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen at all around alcohol.
Yeah.
But here's I think this is an important part to that alcohol piece as well. I hang out with people that know I'm in recovery.
Same.
That's 95% of my friends out there drink. But they all know that I don't. And so and I'm fortunate to have this kind of massive amount of great guy friends and their wives, okay, that know my story. And so even if I screw around with them, they're not going to let me even get close to it. Okay. So, but again, it's those of us in recovery need to do that more often. Okay, we need to put ourselves, because people are going to drink. People are going to take a pain pill because of a surgery. They're going to take a benzo because of anxiety. They're going to take this and take that. Okay, not saying everybody's an addict or addicted to something, right? But just let the people know around you this is who you are.
Yeah.
And if they don't like it, then guess what? They can go do to themselves.
Yeah.
Well,
that comes back to the personal responsibility piece of it.
That's exactly it.
I had someone reach out to me today. They have a loved one that's really struggling. And when I started asking questions from their perspective, it was very much, I didn't even realize it. I used way too many words to saying, they're not taking personal responsibility, are they?
Yeah.
Because it was, they stopped going to meetings. They had this relationship. It was going good. And I told this person this. I'm like, Well, if this individual isn't getting or at least exploring these pathways of help, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, because this was 8 months ago. And I was like, well, he's doing good. He's in a new relationship, goes to a meeting every now and then. I'm like, that needs to be his first priority, the new relationship. He's only like 2 months sober. That's a bad idea, because give it 6, 8 months. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. They're going to have their first fights. And that's exactly what's happening. They're in their first fights, not knowing how to deal with it, how to converse through it, and everything else. And yeah, so they're once again, and I'm not saying it with like a smirk of joy, but it's that kind of I told you so.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, I've been around this enough people. We've spoke to so many people, the things that we go and do within the recovery communities. We know what's going to happen. We're not unique in these
Right.
things, and having to learn to cope and, take that personal responsibility for our own minds, bodies, and everything else.
Yeah. I got a call from somebody yesterday, and I know they may start listening, so I'm not going to get into it too much. Um, but somebody is the person is not taking responsibility for their addiction. The family, one family member is starting to take some responsibility in order to get things done and call me to see what can be done, and on and on and on. And but this has been going on for 15 years in their family, and this person is still under 40. Okay. Um, and so when I was speaking with this person and telling them what we do and how we do it, and you don't have a lot of time to waste here because this really is an opiate issue. And of course, there's whatever this person said, it was nothing new to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was a typical story of a good old-fashioned opiate addict, right? And so I offered this and that and the other thing, and again, explaining to this person, our job is to get you and the family through this as quickly as possible, because you do not have time to waste. Because the next step in this is that person would go out, if that person didn't have the drug of their choice, and somehow fentanyl would come into play here. And of course, the significant other now have their plan in place, which again, okay, you can make that decision, but I'm going to venture to say right now, that ain't going to work.
Yeah. It's the loved ones. It's tough to know where to bring your grace and your acceptance and kindness, and where to stop it. And I'm not huge on the word boundary, because I think it's overused, but for lack of a better word, boundary on these things. I mean, we don't know with this gentleman, Rich Quan, that passed. Was he commonly used? Is it because he had a decent income that people let it fly because he's taking care of the bills or whatever it is, or that perception of, oh, this is just how they chill out or whatever. But I'm going to tell you, I worked with people for 17 years that didn't know I have a problem. Granted, I didn't have a drinking problem the whole time, but in the last 10 years, for sure.
Right.
I had 2 people that went, yeah, I knew it was a problem. I worked with 25 people, Flindt.
Right.
23 of them had no clue that were around me constantly.
Jason, it is, and I understand that. It is because most people out there, sorry to say this, all right, but most people out there don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Everybody is in their own world. That's just the way the world is.
Yeah, and I accept that. So I'm not like offended by it. I get
it.
I'm just saying it to bring up of how clueless
right people are,
for lack of a better word, or uneducated in it.
or uneducated, and most are uneducated, and I think there's a good mix of uneducated and the fact that they're in their own heads and they don't see it, they don't care.
Sure, yeah, because
I really believe that
everybody's got their own problems, and I definitely didn't expect, um, I'm I don't know if I'm the antithesis of some where it's like my problems are everybody's problems. It's like my problems are not even my problems. That was kind of me. Like they don't exist. If I ignore them forever, they will have never existed.
right.
And I'm going to tell you that's where I'm a lot like my maternal grandfather, who, yeah, his end and alcohol definitely had a combination in there somewhere.
Sure, but now I'm wondering on this gentleman's family who they're blaming, because there's going to be blame.
Yeah,
there is going to be blame every time somebody dies of an overdose or the accidental overdose. That family wants to blame something or somebody else for it.
yeah.
So is that family going to take a look at their role in this? Because a family's role in this is a hell of a lot different than some friend's role or some acquaintance's role.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? That family has a big responsibility. That's why we keep telling everybody this. This is a family issue. This is a family problem. If you're blind to the fact, if you just want your loved one to bring in the money, and you're not looking at where his or her lifestyle is going, you're part to blame here. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Even though it's his or her responsibility to get it done, if they want to, be in recovery, it's still the family has a role here. So you just can't come in and start blaming. I mean, we can blame the drug dealer. We can blame fentanyl directly. Okay. It's a drug that has now become an illegal drug that needs to go away. No question about it. And I think every drug dealer needs to be hung by their balls in the county courthouse front lawn. I think every drug runner needs to spend months and years in prison over this, for the smallest amount of fentanyl being sold. I think our law enforcement needs to step it up 25 notches, like we're invading Iwo Jima again. But you just can't, families. Well, law enforcement didn't do their job. Well, why didn't you help out law enforcement prior to this? Why didn't you support law enforcement prior to your loved one dying of that overdose? Why didn't you get involved in something? I mean, the whys are many.
Yeah.
Here. It's what, you just came to the party now after somebody has died? Again, I'm not asking everybody to jump into this thing full force here, but have a little bit of, have some skin in the game. If you think your loved one is using something, get some skin in the game here.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you love them, the thing they need the most right now is support. And speaking of support and getting in the game, how about you get in the game and maybe get yourself a house?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Granville Home of Hope. Here we go again. 2024. Yep. We're back. Granville Homes is building a brand new home. We're going to give it away on December 4th. 2024, you can get your ticket. It's $100, or you can get a bundle of tickets for $200, which includes the chance of winning a brand new Lexus for 2 years. And Payne will receive 100% of all the proceeds from the tickets that we sell, as well as the 8 other nonprofits that are involved with this event. So you can go to our website. You can find out there how you purchase the tickets. We can't sell the tickets online for legal reasons. But other than that, you can call our number. You can reach out to our office, and we'll show you how to get those. So help us out.
Absolutely. If you want more details, the link is in the podcast description. And please, hey, get yourself in the running for that home and possibly that 2-year lease on that Lexus, courtesy of Lexus of Fresno. And as Flindt said, help not only us, but so many amazing other nonprofits that are benefiting from us that do such wonderful work in and around our communities. And you folks and your generosity is what really helps keep us going and help others, So help us, help others. And in turn, hey, it's going to come back to you too. So we definitely appreciate you taking a look at that.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, at 559-579-1551, or visit us online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Pain Nonprofit. And please subscribe to the Don't Hide the Scars podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. And if you would like to donate to PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, please click the link in the description to make your tax-deductible donation today and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.
And, I want to continue on here with this. 33 years old, we're seeing this. And I don't remember if I had told you this recently. I was fellowshipping with a friend of mine. We do Celebrate Recovery together. He actually does my tattoos. And another gentleman comes in that goes to Celebrate Recovery, and we're talking, and he's asking me about Narcan because my friend who owns the tattoo shop, PAIN provided them all with Narcan. And I brought up a young man. Hey, I know I haven't been in, it was like, I think I had 6 weeks of just insanity of workload that, I didn't hit the meeting. And I asked about a young man that I provided Narcan. I gave it to his mom because he had overdosed twice in one day on fentanyl. And he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't hear." And I go, "No. Yeah, he went back out. He overdosed of fentanyl." So this thing, that we do, you've helped thousands of families, and some of those have lost. And the longer I'm in this, the more I'm seeing the same result. This was a good looking young man. He had like Antonio Banderas looking, desperado movie. He had this slick back hair, nice looking, well put together. So, it's not just the individual that's out there on the streets. And I'm guessing the family, mom was driving a decent car. So probably, I'm guessing middle class. So this is hitting everyone. Hispanic gentleman of Mexican descent. Mom, just the nicest, sweetest lady. I gave her our information. She said this was working and that he was doing other meetings. And, I told her about sober living options here in our area and, anything to encourage it. But, he had to want to take that responsibility.
Yeah.
And it's tough because addiction hijacks us, and it's so hard to get that time of clarity to really embrace it. Because when he was there, he was present, he was good, he was doing the meetings, he was really switched on, intelligent. And again, now his family, that picture that's going to sit on the fireplace mantle or the piano, it's the same age, 20 years old.
Right. It's just, I don't know if you listened to the vice presidential debate last night.
I didn't.
I did.
It's all gotten too much for me, and my vote's already been decided. So
yeah, same here. But I have to say it was it was a pleasure to watch.
Mm.
They were cordial.
Oh, wow.
There was no backbiting. I mean, look, my opinion, Vance kicked Waltz's ass. Okay. But it was two men standing up there having a conversation. Voices weren't raised. No real serious glaring back and forth to one another, but they just didn't address the fentanyl issue like it should have been addressed. Mm-hmm. When this is the number one killer in our country today, and it just doesn't get addressed like it should. Now, they're talking about, and my point to this is that they're talking about insurance for for our citizenry. Okay, everybody's going to get covered. And here's my point. I look over at my wife and I go, do you realize this is not about everybody having insurance? It's about having the right insurance.
Mm-hmm.
No matter if it's to cover substance use, if it's to cover mental health, if it's to cover this, that, it has to be in those policies, and it has to be enough for somebody to actually get the fucking help that they need.
Yeah.
Okay, we can all stand up there and say, yes, we now have Medi-Cal for everybody in the United States. Hey, Medi-Cal people, if you're listening, pull your heads out of your asses, okay? Because you're not paying anything to treatment centers. That's why most of us don't take it. No. Because we can't function businesses off of $100 a day that you pay for somebody.
Yep.
So it's great if somebody's got a policy, but if the policy isn't worth a damn, what good is everybody having the insurance?
Yep. Well, and I have a harsh opinion on that, because when we came into that universal health care, Obamacare or whatever, what it did was it took away the competition between companies, because now it's just everybody's got it. So we can give you the least value while appeasing you that you have it when there was some that didn't have it before. And so what it's done is driven it down. We don't have 3 months to sit around and wait for billing to go through and improve something. We're losing people rapidly here. Chronic diseases, are the number one killer. And within that, the number one sector of it is now overdoses.
Right.
That means somebody is hooked on something. Nobody just jumped straight to fentanyl. Now, they might have died the first time they took fentanyl, but that wasn't their first substance.
Correct.
Nobody wakes up and goes, boy, I'm just, I need an external solution to all these things and problems I'm feeling inside. I heard about this fentanyl thing. I'll get right on Snapchat or wherever and get it. Doesn't effing work that way.
Doesn't work that way.
So we have this system now that it takes all this time to get anything built, to get anything done. It's become crap. And it's all become a huge referral system. And we've seen it. We've tried. We've called county health. We've gone through the process. Referral. I have a loved one. They have a coworker whose husband is struggling, and they tried, and they got canceled on 9 times. Struggling with methamphetamines and cocaine, 2 things that very much have fentanyl in them.
But Jason, what you have to understand is cocaine and fentanyl, insurance companies don't pay for those detoxes.
Right.
They don't even pay for them.
And why?
We don't know, because, in real layman's terms, it's basically because these insurance company thinks, all they got to do is sleep for 3 days, and then we can put them in an outpatient program.
Yeah.
I mean, how stupid are these? They're not stupid. Okay. They're actually, it's the government that's stupid. It's the lawmakers that are stupid. It's the lawmakers that aren't getting anything changed.
Yeah.
The insurance companies are going to keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I would say that none of them are stupid in the process, because what then happens? Okay, so the pharmaceutical companies want this process to play out, because then they get greater billing for their pharmaceuticals. Then those pharmaceutical companies are the number one advertisers in the world, and they're also the number one lobbyists. And oh, by the way, if you go and you look it up, look at who owns the majority of many of the big pharmaceutical companies. They also own the New York Times and other media outlets as well. So, no, it's one big whole thing. Now, do I think that the desire is, well, we just want to continue to let Americans be killed? I don't think it's that, but I do think it's a lot of the bottom line of the dollar. And there has to come a point where we got to go, this is just wrong.
Right.
This is wrong. Well, I mean,
we're past the point.
Yeah, just look at what the FDA continues to approve. I was reading on this because I've had some issues with my gut, and that's caused inflammation issues, and so I'm trying to eat better. And I went and looked up the history of approved ingredients in food. You brought up that young lady earlier, 600 pounds. In the 1950s, there was something like 438 ingredients approved. Now we're over 1,700. Other countries, don't allow more than 700.
Right. Right.
And we're seeing it more in some where the opioid, what happened with the Sacklers here in the U.S. starting to happen. We had that eye-opening conversation. I'm drawing a blank on the lady a couple episodes back where she was the attorney. And so I dug more into it. So, it's starting to happen in other countries too, but not to the same extent. Yeah. And it's scary and it's sad because we're at the point, do we look at humanity over the almighty dollar?
And I just don't see it changing. It's look, and even if somehow we got back in front of the right legislators, this doesn't have to be a big drawn out deal. Mm-mm. They just need to understand that people need the right policy. Mm-hmm. That's all. I mean, they need the right policy. Medi-Cal is not going to do it, or Medicaid in other states is not going to do it. Okay, I don't see how these men and women in power don't understand that. They don't even address that issue.
Because they don't have to be faced with it. Put them on Medi-Cal for 6 months and see how much they like, where they have to get referral after referral after referral.
Absolutely.
I have something with a shoulder issue. I don't know what it is. My doctor has referred me to people all over this area, all the way down to Fresno, which I live an hour away from. Not gotten one effing call back.
Yeah, you probably won't.
Over and over.
Right.
And it's ridiculous. And I don't have Medi-Cal. I have insurance that I pay an incredibly absorbent amount. It is literally 1/8 of my income just for my premium each month. Actually, it's more than that. It's closer. It's over 1/7 of my income, and it ain't that great.
Right. No, it's there's a lot of changes that need to be made in this thing. So again, we could be talking about fentanyl. We could talk about what we're going to do, but until we get somebody in there that's going to change how we take care of these people, this is just one big circle jerk, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and you can put that on the air. I don't care. Okay, because that's exactly what it is.
It is.
That's all it is.
Yeah, anybody that's under the illusion or delusion that let's say that come November, when the next president, whoever that comes in, they do change all the border policies, etc. It ain't going to clear up this problem.
No, and handing that, and then look, we hand out Narcan. I believe in Narcan. I really do. But you think we're going to Narcan our way out of this problem? No. We need to get to the point where we're starting to cut our Narcan usage down.
Yeah.
That's how you measure success.
Yeah.
By the number of boxes that we're not handing out anymore.
Yeah.
Because overdose rates are dropping.
Yeah.
That's how you measure success.
Yeah. There has been a lot of that talk around. Well, overdose deaths, they've come down. Well, no, they actually haven't. But that's besides the point. But yeah, we want overdoses just in general to come down. And I think that's a misconception too, that everybody thinks, oh, so-and-so overdosed. Didn't mean they died.
Right.
Didn't mean they died.
Right. Again, we don't talk about the number of people that survived it.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they? 10 out of 10 of them are back out using again.
That was my buddy.
Right.
Twice in one day.
Right.
Listener, watcher, put yourself in those shoes. Your heart, twice in one day, your heart stopped.
Right.
You were resuscitated, and yet you still went right back out.
Right. It doesn't matter how much Narcan we hand out. It doesn't matter how many summits there are to talk about the opioid crisis. It doesn't matter how many of those we do anymore. What matters is, how do we change the treatment industry via the insurance companies?
Yeah.
And how do we make sure that those people that cannot afford a PPO insurance can get the proper coverage So the treatment centers don't go out of business trying to help these people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to put a huge dent in this. You have to look at it economically, because the cost of, and there's not a treatment center out there. And what I mean by that is a legitimate treatment center that does medical detox. Not one of those treatment centers is going to tell you that it's not expensive to come into us on a cash basis. It's enormously expensive because of the economy. We are no different. Treatment centers are no different than everybody else out there, having to pay gas prices and food costs and doctors' costs and therapist costs for our facilities and the taxes and the insurances and all that goes with it. So when you look at those numbers and you're getting paid $125 a day from Medi-Cal, basic people need to understand profit and loss. So this is none of this. I don't care how many times we go to Sacramento. I don't care how many busts the DEA makes. And I'm not putting down DEA. I love those people. Yeah. Hey, they're doing their jobs. But it doesn't matter. If we cannot get these people into treatment and proper long-term treatment, this situation is never going to go away.
Nope.
There, you got me all fired up right at the end.
We need enough time to show them, shine a light on a different way of life.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
and for them to see and understand that there's something better and greater than what they've told themselves for a long time.
Right.
Oh.
Right. Yeah.
Our condolences go out to Rich Homie Quan and his loved ones, fans, everybody. It's just, we wanted to jump in there. It's just sad. 33 years old.
Right.
33 years old. My buddy, 20 years old. And
real quick, Jason, I want to say this, because you said it earlier. That young person, that son, whether it was his or not, but he was responsible for that son. As that kid gets older and he has to tell people that his father passed away, and I don't know how old this young kid is, all right? But every stage of his life, oh, how'd your dad die?
Yeah.
Every time he's gonna have. Well, he may not always say it, but the truth is his dad died of a fentanyl overdose.
Yeah.
And so so the person he's telling that to, their minds are going, wow, was he just a drug addict? Right? It's all that extra crap, okay, that now this young man's going to have to deal with.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah. Sad. Yes, it is. Well, we thank you for tuning in either on YouTube, or we ask that you hit that subscribe button right now. Leave a thumb up on the video. Drop a comment. Hey, even if you disagree with us, we do reply to those and try to have a cordial conversation. Yes. Or Apple Podcast and Spotify. Please leave us a rating and review on there as well. And if you get value out of the Don't Hide the Scars podcast, we ask one more thing of you. Please share with someone else.